Imagine waking up to find that the union you rely on to protect your rights at work has been taken over by the government, not because of anything you or your fellow members have done, but because of these unproven allegations against a few individuals. This isn't just a hypothetical scenario, it's actually happening right now with unions in Australia. And it could take a glimpse into the future of all our workers in Australia. So welcome back to Lawishhh, where we break down these sort of legal issues, these political issues, and we sort of make them more understandable for you. So my name's Ennis, I'm a criminal defense lawyer, and I'm excited to talk about this very big issue that I take to heart, which is this union busting laws that has recently been passed by the federal Labor government. These laws are a direct attack on union autonomy and worker solidarity, and they could reshape the landscape of labour rights for Australia for very years to come. So let's explore what these new laws means for unions and for workers, and why we should all be concerned. To understand the full impact of these laws, we need to start with some context of this whole issue. So the recent legislation passed with a bipartisan support, specifically targeting the construction, the forestry, and the maritime, mining and energy union, the big ones called CFEMU. These laws now allow the government to take over the administration of a new union if they suspect within criminal activity within its ranks. This is a very unprecedented move that stands for a dangerous precedent that could threaten the independence of unions of Australia. But how did we get here? So the origins of the law can be traced back to a very serious investigation done by Nine newspaper that titled Building Bad. Get the pun? Right? So these reports allege these criminal activities within this company that includes cooperation, links to bikie gangs and other illicit behavior on work sites. These stories painted a picture of widespread criminality, but many within the union have criticized them as a coordinated attack on unions designed to undermine their credibility and weaken their power. So we got to follow these reports. The federal Labor, of course, government had wasted no time in introducing what's called now the Fair Work Registered Organisation Amendment Administration Bill in 2024. So essentially, this bill, it allows for the administrative takeover of any union where there is even a suspicion of criminal activity, rather than just tackling individuals of these wrongdoers. This broad and sweeping approach is a very significant departure from the norm. Typically, if we have a criminal behavior within any organization, the individuals involved are prosecuted, while the organization itself remains intact. But these new laws, they can have the entire union be deemed corrupt and taken over without due process. This brings us to the crux of these laws. These laws aren't just for the CFMEU, they're all about the future of unions and our rights to workers in Australia. If the government can just intervene and take control of the union-based allegations alone, honestly, what's stopping them from the same time and other unions in other futures? This sets a very dangerous precedent where the autonomy of the unions is undermined and their ability to advocate for workers is significantly weakened. So, during this reading speech done under this act, what the minister shows is he just goes on to say the Fair Work Commission applied to the federal court to place administrators on several members of that branch. They justify the need for these new laws, claiming that they would ensure that the union acts are in the best interests of its members. But who decides who's in the best interests of the union members? By appointing these government administrators, the power is taken away from the traditional union members themselves and placed in the hands of bureaucrats who may not have the same commitment, maybe not the same values to workers' rights. These new laws permit that these companies and unions, constructions, general divisions, and their branches to be in business up to 5 years. But here's the kicker. The union itself has bared the cost imposed by these administrations. That means the actual union members are forced to pay for a government takeover they didn't ask for or likely oppose. This financial burden weakens the union's ability to support its actual members and fight for the rights effectively. Furthermore, administrators appointed under this legislation have immunity from reprisals and everything else from accountability, even if their actions harm its union or its members. This legislation is a direct attack on a democratic right of a union members. Okay, so the fun part, law. Section 170A of the Fair Work Act states that a removed person, someone terminated under these reforms, cannot act as a bargaining representative for any other employee or employer. So this effectively means that they're blacklisted from participating in union activities, stripping them of their rights, their right to represent, their right to represent workers, advocate, and for fair treatment in their own workplace. So let's be clear. These laws aren't about the CFEMU. They are a preemptive strike against all unions designed to intimidate and threaten worker solidarity. The government claims these measures are necessary to protect the public interest, but many see it as a way to settle dissent and silence any opposition to corporate power. So, when corruption or criminality is found in these corporations, whether by banks, airlines, supermarket, the response is to deal with the individuals involved, not to dismantle the entire organization. When it comes to unions, the government approach is far more draconian. It's treating the whole organization as guilty without proper evidence or even due course. So this union has pointed out the double standard in this. They argue that if similar allegations were made against a major corporation, there wouldn't be a government takeover. Instead, there would be investigations, prosecutions, and internal management change. But for unions, which are seen as a threat to the corporate interests, the response is far more extreme. The union's leadership has condemned these new laws as an attack on workers' rights and a threat to the democratic principles that unions are built on. We've seen this happen, and so why is the federal Labor, that is traditionally seen as a pro-worker and pro-union, pushing out these damn laws? Well, many critics argue that it reflects a broader shift within the Labor Party, which appears now to be more aligned with corporate interests than those of workers. This whole swift passage of law suggests that both major parties in Australia are increasingly prioritizing the interests of these corporations and profits over what used to be the right and protection of workers. So this is a dangerous path to tread. Unions have historically played a crucial role in fighting for these worker rights, improving these whole workers' conditions, securing fair wages, and advocating for social justice. They are a vital counterblast to this whole corporate power, and any attack on union is ultimately an attack on workers and their ability to stand up for themselves. And moreover, these laws create a very chilling effect of union activism. If union leaders know they can be removed and their union placed under this administration based on unproven allegations, they might think twice before challenging this whole corporate power or, of course, the government policies. The stifling of the union activity is precisely what corporate interests desire. Unions too afraid to fight for their members' rights. The implications of these union-busting laws are far-reaching. They represent this whole fundamental shift in a relationship between government, unions, and workers in Australia. If these laws were allowed to stand, they could pave a way for this whole erosion of workers' rights and protections, making it easier for governments to intervene and union affairs to weaken their whole power. Now, more than ever, it's crucial for workers and their unions to stand against these attacks. This is not just about the CFEMU and any other single union. It's about the future of all workers in Australia. It's about ensuring that unions remain strong and independent, capable of fighting for the rights of the interests for members without this fear of government interference. So thank you for tuning in to this channel. If you found this video insightful, if you like me speaking more about politics and general law, hit that notification bell, leave your comments, and I love making these types of videos, something that I'm very passionate about. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.